Welcome to Love Central. Our dear brother, Yoav, he is our family. Yes. These become our family. We like each other so good that we'll actually tear up when we see each other. That's a good thing, you know. We're happy to know. So Yoav, come, just share what's on your heart. Yoav is from Israel. He's an Israeli, and I'm a Judean. I'm from the tribe of Judah. That went over their heads, but
we're all Judeans. I'll explain soon why. Let's see if it's going to work. So shalom, everyone. Thank you for having me here, Pastor and Jackie and the whole family, and thank you, especially the young guy, girls, guys, whoever, because what Charlie was doing, he was not only sharing the truth, he was planting seeds of the truth. And sometimes it's the more important thing, because when you growing with the truth, it's a process. It's a process to get to know the stories, the facts, and then the spiritual world of yourself, connection with God. And that's something that he was doing. As an Israeli, I can tell you, we had a very personal, strong connection with him, all of us Israelis. It's nighttime in Israel now, and all the telegrams channels are alive, biting, and everyone sharing, grieving about his death and stories, how he protected Israel, how he shared the truth, how he was not willing, and he gave everyone the right of speech. The most local people came in front of him and were talking weird things, and he was patient enough to tell them, you're wrong. And he brought to the world he died in the battle for truth. And I told Jackie earlier that every time I saw him, he had a light spotted on him, and people could see the light of God through him. And this was so good. I think about it, and I think about also, forgive me for taking it to my home, I think about the more of 800 soldiers that were lost in the war in the past 2 years for protecting our home, protecting the nation of Israel that is under a threat that he was so aware of. I'm here today. Whoever heard me last year when I was here, I shared a lot about my family, and my family was here with me. And we shared more of the current events, and I'm here also to answer questions about the current events. If it's about Gaza, Yemen, Iran. When we left here last time, we got stuck in New York because we started a war with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and then we basically almost destroyed them after a few months, and miracles have happened, and their leader is gone, and things have happened. And then last June, I came back home, and surprise, surprise, there was some tourism coming up and drops, we call it, like 5 days here. And then June came, and the war with Iran. By the way, it's unbelievable. Today we know that the Iranians were very, very close to have a nuclear weapon that can destroy Israel in a push of a button. Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, with all the leaders of the army, decided to prevent it. Thank God Trump joined. And 12 days in June, unfortunately, thank God we prevented it, but unfortunately for me, I lost again all the work we had. My family was impacted a lot. Our little daughter, if anyone saw her last year, her name is Joy. She's suffering a lot from kind of trauma because of I'll try to show you a video at the end. What does it mean to be under attack for many days, not for one day? It's like, imagine yourself, there's rockets falling not far away. It's almost like being under a hurricane for 2 years. It's not easy. So that's a little bit something that I will leave for the end if people will have questions. I want to talk a little bit more about the land of the Bible and the perspective that I can have, because I know the land well, and I want to bring some pieces for you. I said, you're all Judeans, because I'm going to show you a verse soon and explaining it. The name Judah and Jews, where is it coming from? There's one of the church fathers where, the church started growing after the Emperor Constantine in the 4th century. I'm not giving you a history lesson, but one of the church fathers, the guy who wrote about the Bible, was living in the land of Israel. He said that 5 Gospels record the life of Jesus. 4 you will find in books, and the 1 you will find in the land they call holy. Read the 5th Gospel, and the world of the 4 will open to you. I'm going to give you a very little taste of the 5th Gospel here. In the next half hour we're going to have, I'll try to be focused. I'm going to use geography. I'm going to use a lot of elements that I'm aware of, and you can be aware of as well, because about a year and a half from now, it's a secret. Some of you may be able to come to Israel. We're going to announce there'll be a trip. I'm already talking with Pastor about it. Hopefully we'll be able to set dates, because being in the land is like reading the 5th Gospel. And you walk there where Jesus walked. You see the stones, the mountains, but also we are trying to bring some other levels to it. If it's the language and the culture of the 1st century Judaism. I know I'm throwing a lot of information on you. I'll try to show you some more visuals. So what do I mean by trying to bring the land? I want to take the real context of things. The people who listened to Jesus, what language they spoke. What was the language he was communicating with them? What was the weather? How did the earth look like? Were they walking downhill, uphill? Sometimes it's important in the text recording it, but we don't notice it because you don't know the geography. Sometimes the historical background is important. The Bible is full of historical background. King Herod, familiar with the name? The guy who wanted to kill Jesus. But there's other Herods in the Bible. There were his sons and daughters. Sometimes we need to study that so we can understand the words of our Bible a little bit better. And the culture, the Hebrew culture, the Jewish culture of the 1st century, which Jesus was living in it. Everything in the right context. And I'm not going to everything right now, but I'll try to bring you. And one of the important things is, where did all happen? The stories of the Bible. So what was the name of this land? What is the name of this land? Last time I was here, we went over maps and I tried to show you, and I was talking a lot about to show you how we can understand that what we're talking about, there's a debate now in the media, Palestine, not Palestine. No. When we talk about the Bible, it's very easy. I think Matthew chapter 2, verse 19, if I remember correctly. I don't have it here. But after the birth of Jesus, the family goes to Egypt because Herod wants to kill the boys. He heard the king of the Jews was born. And he wanted to kill all of them. And they go to Egypt. But then Herod died. And the angel goes to Joseph, the father of Jesus, and tell him, rise. Take the child and the woman and your wife and go to the land of Israel. I didn't say it. It's written there in the Bible. Now, where is the land of Israel? Now, obviously, we also have the name of Judah, the land of Judah. And why? By the way, have you ever asked yourself, Charlie was mentioning in the clip that everything you want to influence the world today has to come to America. This actually answers exactly the question, why God picking this little piece of land over there. Do you see these 2 centers, Mesopotamia and Egypt? These are the main empires of the ancient world. Strong empires for thousands of years. There's a lot of water in the Nile. See the Nile? And Tigris and Euphrates, big rivers. Iraq and Egypt are today. Iraq and Turkey are over here. All right? These are countries today. And Abraham is getting the call to go to the promised land. Where's the promised land? Right in between. Now, the shortest way to go between Egypt and Mesopotamia is through the desert. Until today, if you're going to try to cross over there, you'll die. There's nothing there. It's arid. It's no water, nothing. The only way to commute between the two centers is through this land we call Israel. And when God wants to impact the world and the message of the one and only God is here, where would you put the name of God? Where would you choose to do that? At the main crossroad, in the main bridge. It's like putting a billboard on the best location in town. And this is the land we call Israel, and this is what we have today. We talked about it actually last time I was here. The land is very interesting, and I want you to have a map when you read your Bibles. It's important because the Mediterranean is over here, this white thing, and all of this green area is kind of a plateau. In the time of the past, before the Romans, before 2,000 years ago, this whole green area were swamps. It was not easy to walk. So if people wanted to walk from Egypt down here to the north, they walked along the mountains. This brown area is mountains, and the main highway was here. A lot of events are actually happen along this road. What will be in the main mountains, Samaria and Judea later on. And when we talk about names, these are two maps that presents for us the Old Testament time and the New Testament time. All right, the coastal plain, the Mediterranean, the Dead Sea, and the big valley. Let's go back here. There's a big valley over here. See that? The deepest place on earth, the lowest place on earth, the Dead Sea. Are you familiar with the Dead Sea? When you come to Israel, you go into the water of the Dead Sea, you sit, you raise your leg, and you float in the water. You can read, it's really cool. There's so much salt in it, so your body floats. And so that's the land. Again, we can go into it, and I do want to move forward and show you something. Again, this is the land after Joshua comes into. Last time I was here, we ran over the timeline, and I have the timeline at the end. If anyone wants, by the way, if anyone needs materials or questions or anything, I'll give my email, and as we go out, there's a little piece of paper you can scan and you can join a WhatsApp group. It's called Yoav's Real Israel Club, and you'll be able to get into kind of like a messaging, and you can reply to me privately with asking questions. My phone is over there. WhatsApp, I know many of you are not using it, but it's the best way for us. It's for free. It's easy, and you can ask. Yoav can send me. You can ask. You can send videos. We can send files. Easy. So this is the map after Joshua comes into the land, about 1200 BC. You can see the tribes. You can see Judah over here. Manasseh is important tribe. Ephraim is super important. See Ephraim, Benjamin. And you can see that we had tribes also across the Jordan. During the time of Jesus, the land is called Judea. Actually, in Latin, Judea. And this is the land. It's going to expand actually to the south, and this whole area is being controlled by King Herod and his descendants. So that's the map. And I promise to. This is a good one. You see this? Here's the Dead Sea. This is a different map. We all used to look at maps and look at north up, right? This map is kind of we're looking from the west. Gaza Strip is over here. This is the hill country. I called it the loaf of bread last time I was here. Samaria, Judea in the time of Jesus' time. Bethlehem and Jerusalem are over here. Coastal plain, Mount Carmel, Elijah the prophet over here. Mount Hermon, the Transjordan, the nations of Ammon, Gilead, Moab. Who comes from Moab? Ruth. Very good. Ruth, when she comes with Naomi, they cross over here. There was a land bridge, today we can see it, that they could cross the sea, the Dead Sea, and they come up all the way to Efrat area, to Bethlehem, this area. So this is important to get to know the map. And again, the name of the land is Judah, because the tribe of Judah. I'll run over quickly. All right? Joshua brings everyone into the land after Moses died. And then all the 12 tribes getting their plots. King Saul is the first king, but David is the one uniting everyone under one kingdom. And Solomon, his son, brings the temple to Jerusalem and built it. But then after Solomon, there's a big split between the kingdom of Israel in the north and the kingdom of Judah in the south. Israel, Judah. Israel is being basically destroyed and expelled by the Assyrians. And Judah is left. And this is why I want to talk to you a little bit and now explain why you are all Judeans. Because you're here today. Leah, when she has Judah, the son, all the sons of Jacob, every name has a significance in Hebrew. All right? But when you read it in English, you say, okay. You read the translation. But listen to the words in Hebrew. She said she conceived again, and when she gave birth to the son, she said, this time I will praise the Lord. So she named him Judah. Well, I mean, there's no, if you could read Hebrew, it would have say, Ani odeh Lashem, and I will call him Yehuda. Odeh, Yehuda. Hodaya is thankful. Be thanks to God. All right? So being part of Judah is being thankful for God. So basically, you coming over here, you're all Judeans. That's the name. The name Jews is coming from, I explained it last time I was here. I know you don't remember, but in English, there is a big, big problem. They took the D out of the Judeans and made it Jews. In other languages, you still have the D. Anyone knows Spanish, Judíos, Jews, all right? So we give thanks to God, and you all are Judeans. So that's a little bit, again, using the language, the Hebrew language, to understand the text. Today, I drove with Pastor in his car, and he was talking to someone, quoting Jeremiah 12. The Lord said to me, you've seen correctly, for I am watching to see that my word is fulfilled. And I asked Pastor, wait a second, let's take a step back to verse 11. What do you see? You see an almond branch. What's the connection? Almond branch watching over to, this is something amazing. And I said to myself, perfect. We're talking about the land of Israel. We're talking about the weather. We're talking about the nature of the land. We're talking about the Hebrew language. Only with these tools and lenses, you can understand the verse. Let's read it all together. The word, I'll read it for you. I'm the worst reader in town over here, but I read Hebrew good, English less. The word of the Lord came to me. What do you see? Jeremiah says. God is asking him. And then, I see the branch of an almond tree, I replied. The Lord said to me, you have seen correctly. I'm watching over to see that my word is fulfilled. Let me help you. The word for an almond tree and a fruit is shaked. Shakked. Shaked. All right? And Jeremiah and God knows together something very important that you don't know. That the shaked, the almond tree, is the first one to bloom in the land. One of the most beautiful trees to bloom. And when you come to Judea, around Jerusalem, in February, you will find many brides. All these trees are dressing with white, and it's so beautiful. It's the first tree in the land, naturally, to have blossom, to bloom. Wait a second, I need to take a step back over here. I have to explain to you, in Israel, the seasons are like that. Winter is cold and wet. Summer is dry and hot. And in between, there's a short spring and very short fall. So the last few days, you had some fall smell in the air. I was very happy. I felt it, and I said to myself, I need to bring it back to Israel. But, so it's important for you to understand this, because the winter can be rainy. Summer can't. When I was here last time and we had rain, I said, God, something is weird over here. That's not the way I read the Bible. Why am I telling you that? Because what's happening here? It's the first tree to bloom, the shaked, the almond tree, but it's the last tree to give his fruits, to be picked. The fruits are picked last, after the dates and the figs and the olives and the vine and the grapes. All of these are natural things growing in Israel. The almond is the last one. So you need to believe it can happen. You need to have patience. What are flowers for the fruits? The flowers are the promise that you'll have fruits. All right? I want to add something more. The Word of God and the promises, you don't see them right away. God is telling, I'm working on it, I'm watching over. Now, He's using a verb that comes out of the word of almond. He uses the verb shoked, S-H-O-K-K-E-D. How did I say shoked? Anyone remember? How did I say almond? I just said it. How do you say almond? Shaked. How do you say a verb for doing something long into the smallest details? It may take time. Shoked. When you study to the most important test in your class, or in your becoming a lawyer, a doctor, you sit half a year and study, you're shoked. God is shoked. And it's coming from the word shaked, because not only it's the first tree to bloom, and you need to be patient until you're going to pick up the fruits, it's also blooming, listen to that, in February. What did I say about the winter? Rainy and cold. Flowers during rain time is a bit, how do I say it, not good for the plant. Why? Because the drops of rain, and I've seen almonds blooming and hail is going on it, waited 8 months later and there were fruits on the tree, which means the promise is strong. And if you have faith, if you're faithful and you believe and you have patience, you'll get the fruits. I just spoke for 5-10 minutes about 2 verses that are so short that you had no idea why it said so. You see that? How the Hebrew language helps you. But not only the Hebrew language, the land and the nature of the land. And I want to move forward because I do want to leave some time for questions at the end. And I want to talk to you about one story that you're all familiar with, the parable of the Good Samaritan. This story has so much information that is connected to the reality of the land, the 5th gospel that I mentioned, that you need to, sometimes we need like few hours just to give everything. We're going to read, but I want to give you some information. Wait a second, parable. Parable is something that happened or didn't happen. Didn't happen, you're right, didn't happen. It's kind of like a story with a message. It's a method of teaching that Jesus is using, that one of the groups of the Jews, one of the biggest groups of the Jews called the Pharisees used to use, and many other rabbis were using it, to teach a message. The other groups, by the way, the Sadducees, the Essenes, did not use this. They didn't know how to really deal with it. So if I tell you who's listening to Jesus' message over here, it will be only the group that knows how to deal with parables, the Pharisees. All right? That's one thing that you need to know. Now, where physically, geographically, the story that Jesus tells about the Good Samaritan happens? There. See this? Jerusalem is over here. Jericho is over here. The road between Jerusalem and Jericho, that's an aerial photo, looks a bit arid, correct? It's semi-desert, kind of a desert. What's higher, Jerusalem or Jericho? Jerusalem. Jericho is below sea level. It's close to the Dead Sea. All right? Why is it important? I'll show you. Jesus has been asked, how do you, what's written in the law? How do the guy who's a teacher of a law is asking Jesus, and one occasion, an expert of the law stood up to test Jesus. He asked him, Rabbi, Moreh, he asked him, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? He replied, Jesus. How do you read it? He asked the guy. Pay attention how many questions they ask each other. If someone will talk to you in questions today like that, you'll get offended in America. I'm telling you. Why? Because the way you will feel, seriously, you think, if I ask you, it means that I think you don't know, right? But that's the way they study. That's the way they challenge each other. We read it very negative because in our culture, that's the way it worked. And then he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Easy, huh? But then you have answered correctly. Jesus replied, do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? That's a good question, right? I want to step for a moment. Here is how the road looks like. And I want to take you, and I'm going to go back to the story because it's super interesting. I want to take you to the time of Jesus. For about 100 years before that, and during Jesus' time, kind of like a more humane approach to the law of Moses was developed among the Jews. And the way Jesus read Leviticus 19:18, but love your neighbor as yourself, is very interesting. What did Jesus said? What came first? Love your neighbor or love your God? Love your God is essential. It's the most important, right? That's the first thing. And then love your neighbor. But what love your neighbor as what's the connection between myself, exactly loving myself and loving God? Let me try to explain how they understood it, okay? They saw the love your neighbor and they didn't read it, love your neighbor as yourself. They read it, love your neighbor who is like yourself, was created by the image of God. Genesis 1:27 created them in his own image. All the relationship to others, you see it in many, many Jesus teachings. The way I relate to you and to you is the way I relate to God. Because you have been created by the image of God. Now, Jesus is telling us the whole story about the Good Samaritan that helped everyone. Here we have the story. There are two people. I want to show you verse 31. A priest happened to be going down the same road. Where did he go? Jerusalem or Jericho? Do you all agree he went to Jericho? Why? Why walking down? Because Jericho is lower. You just saw it, remember? You just been to the road. This is why the geography matters. He went down the road. Now, why is it important that the priest went down the road? What do we have in Jerusalem and we don't have in Jericho? What do we have in Jerusalem at that time? Temple. The temple. What does the priest do in the temple? They serve in the temple. They are the ones running the sacrifices. They're the ones they're basically, by the way, they're the leaders. The priests and the Levites were connected to a group that really understood the text very literal. They were very strict with the law. And I want to show you something. If they walked down, they did not go to so Jesus emphasized something very interesting. They were over strict. They're not going to enter. Why do the priest and the Levite and everyone there understand Jesus' message? Why don't they help the guy who was found half dead? He was attacked and went and leaving himself half dead. All right? That's the guy who was attacked on the road. I hope everyone read the story before. If you didn't, we can read it together. But he was found half dead, and the priest and the Levite choose not to help him. Why? They were following the law. And what does the law says? Leviticus 21. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, a priest must not take himself ceremonial unclean for any of his people who die. Well, the guy was half dead. He could die next to them. And what can happen to them? They won't be clean, pure, to go serve in the temple. Wait a second, but the guy was not going into the temple. He was going to Jericho. There's a week of uncleanness. They cannot change it according to the text. They were following the law very strict. But there's something happening there among the people that they all understand, and Jesus is emphasizing it very good, that the law has many rules and many law. What comes first? We already know, love your God, love your neighbor. And I can tell you that from that time of Jesus, there's already things that comes before to prefer over other rules. For example, the Sabbath. There was a big debate during Jesus' time about whether you can heal on the Sabbath, help someone to survive if he's in danger of life, which means you can break the rule of Shabbat, or wait until the Shabbat is over because the Shabbat is more important. What's more important? Of course, today, ultra-Orthodox Jews who follow the law, they have a special phone at home from the hospital, if they're doctors, and the hospital can call them on Shabbat if it's a matter of life. So life matters more. Because that's how it was prioritized. Like Jesus interprets it, many understand that love your God is first. Love your neighbor who was created by the image of God is the essence. Now, Jesus is adding to the discussion by telling the story, and he doesn't tell us about just a guy from Jerusalem. He says specifically a Samaritan. Who are the Samaritans? The Samaritans were not Jews. They were living in Samaria. They were actually, sometimes they were, in a way, hostile to the Jews. They did not get along, all right? I can go deeper and deeper, but we don't have the time. And if you want, ask me and I can give you. I actually interviewed to CBN News lately. They found an amazing estate from 1,500 years ago of Samaritan in the land of Israel. And I'm giving a bit broader explanation about Samaritans. But Samaritans were people that, again, they were not exactly Jews, but the Samaritan represents something very important here. He is doing the love. He's giving the love. He's prioritizing this man over everything to save his life because he put him in the inn and then gives the guy or the innkeeper, the guy gives him money and he saves him. By telling this story, then he asked the most important question: which of these three do you think was the neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Here is a debate if he's replying to talking about God or the Samaritan, but it's very clear. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. I want to talk to you one last thing about this thing. There are 3 commandments that starts with you shall love, or you will love. You will love your God. You shall love your God. You shall love the neighbor. And there's one more that is very emphasized in this story. 36 times in the Bible, in the Old Testament, we have and you are to love, or you should love those who are foreigners. Foreigners, you should love the foreigner, you should love the alien, you should love... Now, I want to teach you something. You should love, 3 words in English. Or sometimes you are to love, or something like that, translation. In Hebrew, 1 word. Ve'ahavta. Ahava is love, ahava. Ve'ahavta, you shall love. Repeat after me. Ve'ahavta. All right? Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Elohecha, love your God. Ve'ahavta לרעך כמוך, and you should love your neighbor. ואהבת את הגר. Ger is the alien, the czar, the foreigner. 3 basic you shall love. All right? Jesus refers who is the stranger, who is the alien over here in the story, and who's doing the loving neighbor, the Samaritan, the foreigner. He emphasized that we should love the foreigner, but I'm going to make it short, and I'm going to say this. Jesus is adding to all one more thing. We can find it in Matthew 5. He says, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Jesus is adding a fourth, ve'ahavta. The Samaritan, as I said, they were clashing with the Jews sometimes. So, in a way, this story emphasized something that, again, we couldn't understand it if we didn't understand the wider picture of the land. But I brought this story over here, and I think it goes together a lot with what happened today to Charlie and to what happens to us in a war. We've met, when you both have been to Israel, we've met a guy named Father Nadaf. He is a priest of an Orthodox church in Nazareth. And I don't remember if it was your group or someone else. Someone asked him, Father Nadaf, Jesus says to love our enemies. So how can we, go on a war and kill? And, war is brutal. And he said, Jesus and God don't tell you, they're not telling you to commit suicide and to make sure that you will not, because if the enemy comes to kill you, you have to protect yourself. If you won't be there, there won't be anyone to share the word. All right? So sometimes you need to stand and protect. And that's a question that always people ask, how can you love your enemy if there's a war? Sometimes there's a time of a war. And I liked his answer. It was a bit militant, but it's hard to understand it sometimes. But today we live it. We live this reality in this reality, and I'm thankful that I have God and I have my army to protect me, and I have your government and your people that helps us to build and design protection weapon and weapon to attack our enemies who are trying to kill us, and they say so every day they can. I want to, before we're going to move, I have a few more stories I want to share, but I want to ask you if you have questions so far. How do you say almond? Shaked. Who said shaked? Very good. How do you say you shall love? Ve'ahavta. Very tough. Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta. That's important. Yes. And Jericho? Jerusalem and Jericho is about a day of walk. All right? A day of walk. Today you can drive it for, if you drive fast, 25 minutes. There's few speed traps, so try to slow down over there. But back then, a day of walk. But you saw the road. I purposely brought this picture to show you because you see it's very arid. There's no water. If you're half dead, you have no chance to survive. All right? Unless someone helps you and prefer you and show love. Love your labor and love, and saves you. That's a good question. Very good question. What other questions do we have? Do I have a question over here? So what's the name? I'll ask here. The young under 18 people. What's the name of the land where the Bible happens? Give me two names. The time of Jesus, the name of the land, yes. Bethlehem is a city where Jesus, but what's the name of the land? Like Douglas is the city, and what's the name of the state? What's the name of the land, bigger land over here? America. What's the name of the land? Israel. In the time of Jesus, Judah, okay? Because Israel, but definitely the name Israel was known because we see that the angel told Joseph, go to the land of Israel. It's kind of like a rise, take your child and your mother and your wife and go to the land of Israel. Remember that. A year and a half from now. Yes. Questions? Don't be afraid. I only speak Hebrew. Yes, I've heard it. Okay. Yes. Okay, very good question. Okay, I try to repeat your question. How do I answer to people who address to the land as Palestine? And this is why we need to have our timeline with us. I know you can't read it, it's too little, but I will try and help you. There's few ways to attack it. By the way, Charlie Kirk is referring to it a few times. He was doing a wonderful job, but I'll tell you this. The name Palestine, let me answer in a different way. Who are today calling themselves Palestinians? What's their language? Do you know the Palestinians? Who are they today? Arabs. They speak Arabic. In Arabic, if you knew Arabic, you knew that there is no P in Arabic. So the land that you think is yours, you cannot even pronounce it. They don't have P in Arabic. There's FPH or F. They say Philistine or all right. Now, the name was called. So the same time Joshua comes into the land, 1200 BC. All right, we have a nation comes from the area of Cyprus, Greek nation, called the Philistines. You're familiar with them. Goliath, remember David's Goliath? He was a Philistine. And they control the coastal plain of the land. All right, you can see it in the map. Over here it says Philistia. All right? This is the area of Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod. What happens to the Philistines in 604 BC? All right, before even the kingdom of Judah was destroyed by the Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon, 586. 604 BC, the Babylonians are finishing the story of the Philistines. We don't have any more Philistines in the stage of history. They kicked them out of the land. They sent them for an exile, and we don't know who and what and where are the Philistines. Okay? The name of the area was called Philistine, and in Greek maps, everyone remembered the name because they are. Who's telling about the Philistines? They're in your Bible. And in the Old Testament, you read about the Philistines. So everyone who reads the Old Testament can read about the Philistines and can read about Gaza and Ashkelon and Ashdod and Goliath and David and fighting. In many years later, 700 years later, when the Romans really didn't like the Jews, they had a clash because the Jews were so connected to the land and to the God to their God that the Romans did not like it. The Emperor Hadrian, the Jews uprised against Hadrian because they wanted to live free, like in the time of Jesus. They wanted to be free in their own land. And Hadrian goes and destroy the Jews in the land, and to try to eliminate the connection between the Jews and the land of Judah, Judah, he renames the land after the biggest rivals of the Jews he knew. Who were the biggest rivals he knew from the past? He read in the Bible what said the Philistines. But in Latin, what can you do? There is no PH or F. So what do you do? What do you have in Latin? P. So he called it Palestina, Syria, Palestina. That's the name of the region after in 135 AD. That's the moment when it comes. Now, for many years after, it wasn't a solid unit. It wasn't a solid country. All right, the Romans controlled it, and then different occupiers. When the Brits are coming in after World War I, they are getting a mandate from the League of Nations to control the land, and they called it the British Mandate over Palestine. My grandpa survived the Holocaust, and he comes into the land in 1946. He's a Jew. His parents were murdered in the forest by the Nazis or their supporters. And he survived, and he came to the land, and before the state of Israel was born, and he got a certificate. And the certificate he got was, he was a Palestinian Jew. Making you a little more confusing. It's confusing, right? How come? I mean, because these people that calls for Palestine, the Palestinian land, they don't follow facts. They don't follow. Now, there's many ways. You take this information and look at the person in front of you. This is what I do. And I choose how to react, whether I choose to react with the Arabic issue or the full story of Adrian, or the fact that until the 1960s, the local Arabs did not call themselves Palestinians, or to the fact that Jews were using the name Palestine to describe their own land as well in the time when the Brits were there. You know, the main Jewish bank was called Anglo-Palestinian Bank. It was the Jewish bank of the land during the British Mandate. The Palestinian newspaper the Jews wrote in Hebrew was called Palestine, and so it was not belong to the Arabs, the name Palestine. It's funny how they took it, because we left it. We stayed with our own name, Israel, and they adopted it, and now they're using it to say it was there first. But I just told you it was not first, and it's not the original name, and they're not also connected to the land because the name is not connected to them. All right? Very good question. More questions? All right. So in 2000, Gaza is right over here. In 2005, there were Israeli Jewish communities in Gaza Strip. It's only a 25 miles long strip. Narrow as the widest part is 7 miles. And Israel had communities over there, and by force, Israel took all the Jewish communities from Gaza, leaving it for the Arabs, the Palestinian Arabs. And a year later, they let Hamas to take over, and Hamas, as we know, is a terrorist organization. And since then, they controlled there, and they took a lot of money and built this terror and these rockets and everything. By the way, the rockets came even before. In 2000, there's already sending rockets to Israel. Now they barely have rockets, if so. If you want to talk a little bit about current stuff, I just want to show you something that we've had. And with that, maybe we'll go to. I didn't want to. I admire you all. Around the world, people go back from work exhausted. They only care about themselves, wanting to have food, something to drink, coffee, or maybe, and go to tea or something. Put their kids to bed and go to sleep. And in the middle of the week, all of you came to worship and to listen and to learn more about your Bible. I admire you. This is so important what you're doing here. So I I was trying to hello. I was trying to keep it short. But I do wanna show you something that is connected to my life. So this is my family. Whoever saw us, this is Gil, and this is Michael. Shani is my wife. Gil. So can you put the video? Wait a second. Before you play it, I want to say something. This video, you'll see my wife. She will kill me if I put it, because she just came out of bed, middle of the night, around 3:30 a.m. There's a rocket launch from Yemen. The Houthis, they are also allies of the Iranians, and they send once in a while rockets. We intercept it outside of Israel, but aside of God's protection, we also developed systems that to protect us. You've heard about the Iron Dome, right? What is Iron Dome? It's a rocket that flies and hits a rocket in the air. But when there is a bigger rocket, ballistic rocket, comes out of Yemen. Yemen is 2,000 kilometers from Israel. It's 1,600 miles from Israel. It's long distance. The ballistic rocket flies out of the atmosphere. And we developed a system called the Arrow system, Chetz, and it can intercept the rocket. It's unbelievable. If you manage to see interception, wow. It's like in the middle of the dark, there is a kind of a purple halo, and like thunders, because the explosion is out of the atmosphere, so it's not one big boom. Anyway, it's very scary because we have a tower with the speakers of the siren telling us, go protect yourself. And this is the most protective element we have. Now, unfortunately, in our house, it's an old one, we rent in the community, there's no safe room. What is a safe room? It's a room in the house that today in new houses they build one, built out of very heavy cement, concrete, and it may protect you from rockets. Not direct hit, but if it hits next to you, you're safe. The window is heavy steel metal. Our neighbors has one, and we found ourselves in the past year running to our neighbors many, many times. They are super kind. They're opening the door. They're waiting for us to come in, and then we close the door, and we wait 10 minutes until we can go out. So if you'll put the video has a siren. And my daughter, I told you, I don't know if I told some of you, since the 12 days war in June, when we had almost every few hours rockets being launched from Iran, we don't have it anymore, thank God. It's like a trauma. I mean, like hearing this siren and running, and we're dealing with it. It's very, very hard. But this is one of the, now today, it's not, even before the siren, we get a little alert to our phone. A rocket has been launched to Israel, siren might go on. So we already wake up. 3:30 a.m., all right? Now, the big question is whether you're going to wake the kids up or you let the siren wake them up. Because imagine yourself, daddy or mommy, waking you up, hey, son, we need to go. Or the siren is loud like crazy because it's right above us. Not nice. So it's a big debate we have with ourselves, whether we wake them up. Sometimes the siren doesn't go because the rocket falls on the way, or it's been intercepted, or it's not going towards our direction. We have it. So this is me holding my daughter with a pajama. The siren is loud, and we have to run this distance. This is the neighbors, and sometimes we even see the rockets above us. You don't have the video with my wife. You'll see my wife coming later. This is a different video than you saw. The neighbors in this case were not there, just their son was there, but the door is always open. Here's my wife. It was cold. She put a jacket. My son is already inside the room. They would kill me to show you their room. But that's my son. He's already there. He's okay. And that's now. Yesterday they had a siren. Today was my son's birthday, so my parents came to be with him he's 10, and my wife had to go to the school at night, and they had a siren. And I'm getting on the phone the alerts, and I'm calling, and I hear my mom is like, "Not now, bye," and and they run to the neighbors, and so this is life in Israel a little bit. We 2 days ago we had something that we thought that might change the reality. Israel tried to get rid of the leaders of Hamas in Qatar. It's very complicated. A lot of levels of understanding this. I don't know. We don't know yet what the results are, but we still have 48 hostages in Gaza. Many of them are dead bodies. At least 20 supposed to be alive. We pray every day and every moment to get them back. This war can over. You know how? Right now it can over. Stop. They need to stop trying to kill us, but it's not enough now. They have to surrender, Hamas. They have to put their arms down, and they have to send the hostages back. If they will do that, all the people in Gaza will get help and have, unfortunately, their desire for killing us is stronger than the desire of protecting their own kids. Right now in Israel, there's a place called Gaza, and there's a brutal war over there. My friends and family are fighting to protect us, and we are sending messages to the people of Gaza to evacuate from their homes. Very brutal, very unfortunate, very sad. But we're doing it because in Gaza we have hostages, in Gaza we have terrorists hiding, and they're not willing to surrender. So what would you do? Around the world there's a lot of lies telling that we bring hunger and we prevent. I can immediately debunk everyone who shows you there is a famine in Gaza. Easy. Show me one kid who's not sick, a picture of someone who's suffering from, they're suffering. There's no doubt about it. They're suffering. By the way, they could be saved if their brothers from Egypt would open the border and save them. But they don't want to open the border, and then you need to ask why. I have a lot to share about current events, but I want to finish with one more thing. It's on one hand a promotion for something we sell, but I don't want you to see I want you to get it as a story, okay? I'm holding in my hand, again, it's to your question about the land, okay? I have so many proofs. I live in a reality that I know the truth so well because, first of all, I read the Bible and I read Genesis 12 and 13 and I see the promise to Abraham. And I read Amos. You know, my community is surrounded by vineyards and wineries. And Amos says, and you'll return, and I will bring you, God says, I'll bring you back to your land and you will plant your vines and drink your wines. It's happening right now in Israel. And Ezekiel talks about it as the dry bones coming back I will bring you back to your own land. I don't need all of this, but a lot of people don't read the Bible or don't understand it well. So I have different things that I show them. For example, I'm holding a coin from the time of Jesus. All right? This is a coin that was like a penny of your time. The coin was created about 100 years before Jesus. One of the far relatives of Judah the Maccabee. Who heard about Judah the Maccabee? He created the holiday Hanukkah, and it's a Jewish family that took over Judea and created Jewish independence before the Romans are coming. 80 years. The temple is on, and Jonathan the king created a Jewish coin, and he wanted to put a symbol of a king on the coin. But Jews cannot put the face of the king because the Ten Commandments forbid to create an image. Right? So what would you show as a symbol of a king? He chose to put a star. Why a star? Numbers 24 talks about a star should rise out of Jacob. It's a sentence that actually describes to us the anointed one. What were kings? They were all anointed. All right? So they saw themselves as anointed. And the star symbolized Jonathan the king, the Jewish king. But not only this is a coin symbolizing a king. It's the coin that Jesus talks about it, twice we have this story of, in Mark 12 and in Luke as well, we have a widow that comes to the temple, and she gives, in the temple you give tax to help sustain the temple. And she gives only 2 mites. And the people who runs the temple, in this case the priests, the Sadducees, the same people who were not helping, they didn't like it. But Jesus tells them she gave more than anyone because she gave out of her poverty. That's what she had. She gave a lot. This is one of, not exactly the coin she gave, but this is a mite like the widows gave. It's original. And they found plenty of those because it was like a penny. And you can get those in a pendant or loose. It's hard. I don't have loose. It's forbidden to sell loose like that because the Israel Antiquity Authority only allows to sell it as a pendant. If you really want to take it out of the pendant, you can buy it with the silver and then sell the silver. But you can find them on the desk over there if you want to take one. That's it's expensive, but it's a great story to show about the history of the land, factual things, Jewish sovereignty of the land, and a coin from the time of Jesus with a message from Jesus to whoever asking you. So if you like to talk to people about the Bible and you want to have something to hold your hand and that really from the time of the Bible, that's a great thing to have. Do you have any questions to me? More? I'll finish by that, and I will tell you these few things. One, outside I said there is a QR code you can scan and join my WhatsApp channel. All right? I'm sending updates from Israel about the family, about my journeys, about new findings, about some of them crazy findings from the time of the Bible. And you are more than welcome to join. You can use this as contacting me via WhatsApp, or you can contact me via email. It's easy to find my email. I think we have it. It's my name, Yoav Rotem. If you'll scan this barcode, it's going to lead you to my website. There's kind of a way to support. And over there, you'll have all the contacts, the email and everything. I want to share with you one more thing. I've been doing this, I'm happy to come and see you and to come and see many people in America in churches and to try and bring the land to you. My job is to welcome you in the land usually when you come as a tour guide. Unfortunately, again, every time there is a crisis, tourism is lower, and I do these journeys and I do it to sustain the family and to bring the Bible to you. So there's 2 main reasons. And I would love if people who wants to help and support and bless us. So until you will come and until everyone will come, we'll be able to stay there. I'm so happy for this. Sorry for you. Not that I don't like you, but I'm happy to see the younger generations over here because it's super important. I hope you got a few seeds, and next time you'll eat an almond, you'll tell your parents, I'm eating a shaked. I hope you have no allergy for it, but remember the almond, it's super important. And if you need to read more about it, or you want me to tell you the story again, you send me a message on WhatsApp and I record myself talking to you with my Hebrew accent, and I can make it very heavy so it will sound very funny and like old. So thank you again, and hope to see you in Israel soon.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you for supporting this gospel of love.